Let's start with today's video shooting. So today's episode is season 3, episode 1. Let me change this. Season 3, episode 1. The title, I think it's Spanish, so I don't know how to pronounce it. The letter is no mass, but there's a mark on top of the A, so I'm not sure how to pronounce it. So I'm just do the summation, okay? So this episode opened with the scene of a town. I think it's in Mexico, and there were a lot of people crawling on the ground. It seems they were heading to somewhere, and there was one car drove by and stopped besides these people. And there were two men got off the car with a nice suit. And then they joined these people. They joined them to crawl on the ground. And they made their way to a small temple outside of the town. These two men got inside the temple and then they take out a picture with the sketch of Heisenberg and pin this sketch on the wall. And these two men, they drove their car to one of the household in the town. The residents, didn't know what they're doing, so they did not dare to say anything. These two men, they took up their suits and they got dressed with the t-shirts and jeans hanging outside the household, and they hanged the key on the horn of the goat, and then they left. These two men went on to take the truck to cross the border. And inside the truck, there was a stowaway. He kept talking about he was going to go to the American, go to Texas because there was a job waiting for him. So he also asked these two men what were they doing to the America. But these two men, they totally silent. So this talkie stowaway, he catch the boot out of the corner of his eyes, and he found there were skulls on the boots. So he suddenly realized that they are Salamancas. So he just climbed up and didn't dare to say anything. And these two men, they took a look at each other and pulled out their gun. And then they shot everyone on the truck dead. And then they just burned that truck and left. And that's the opening of this episode. Then, on the other hand, Walter, he was sitting on the pool side and playing with the matches. He lit the match and then threw it into the pool. And when there was only one match left, he put out all his money he earned before. It's about $500,000, and he put all this money on the barbecue grill, and then poured some oils and used that left match to burn his money. But he suddenly came to his senses that he should not do that. So he tipped the grill over into the pool to put out, and he also jumped into the pool to put out the fire he just lit. And when he was cleaning up all this mess in his backyard, Hank came to pick him up because it's time for him to leave the house. So Hank just cheered Walter up and told him He didn't want to get in the middle of both of them, but he encouraged Walter to be tactically retreat and then regroup to make up with Skylar. And when he was about to do the heavy lifting, take all these his stuff in on the car, uh, there was a bag full of money, and he was about to take it. But Walter, he didn't want Hank to take that bag, so he get to the bag first. But Hank told him, "Hey, you should not do any heavy lifting. Let me do this." When he take up the bag, he asked Walter, "What's inside it? Why it's so heavy?" And Walter, he looked at Hank seriously. He said, "There was $500,000 in it." And then Hank, he just bursted out laughing because he thought Walter was just making a joke. Yeah. And and then he drove, Hank drove Walter to the hotel. And Hank, Walter get inside the hotel and he take out some plates and some toast to make some breakfast for tomorrow's breakfast. Uh, and to take it to the work. When he was doing his thing, he was right making the sandwich. There came the Polo's call, and Walter he picked up the phone. He take a look at the phone, but he didn't take it. He just threw the phone back to his suitcase and went back to make his sandwich. And I think this is the scene to indicate that this meth business did not mean anything to Walt again anymore because he lost everything. He got a lot of money, but what he didn't have was his family. So I think that's what the scene indicates. And then Walter made a phone call to his house to checking in and gave Skyler and Junior his current contact information. When he was leaving the messages in the voicemail, Junior went to pick up the phone and asked Walter what was this going on? What was this all about? He didn't know what happened. And he asked Walter to drive him to the school. So Walter came to the house to drive Junior to the school. And in the school, Carmen, the principal, she bring every students and faculties together in the stadium. And she wanted the students to take advantage of this chance to speak out what they feel about the airplane crash. And after a few students talking about what they felt, Carmen asked Walter to give some speech to the students. And Walter, he didn't want to say anything in the first place, but he finally took it. So, in the first part of his speech, he told the whole faculty and students, people all have to move on and don't linger on the past. But as he moving on his speech, he kept talking about this airplane crash is not the worst case in the history, and people all have to survive. And he talked all these. I mean, what he said in his speech is kind of embarrassing because he's he kept talking about people all had to survive, and we have to move on, and we need to look at the bright side that Uh, Neither two planes weren't full. So even though there was 167 deaths in the accident, yeah, it's still okay. So I mean, I think this scene, is the director trying to tell the audience like us that Walter was no longer the man he was because he was doing this very dangerous meth business. So that kind of changed his personality trait and made the devil inside of him came out. So that's why he say this embarrassing and aggressive speech. He say these words in his speech and make everyone felt uncomfortable. So after their get together in the stadium, Walter drove Junior back to his home, and he asked Junior to say hello to Marie because he knew that Marie was in the house right as the time they came back. And Junior told Walter why he didn't get inside himself. That was his house. But Walter didn't say anything and he left. When Walter Jr. get inside the house, he confronted Skyler and asked her why should she did that, why she kicked his father out. Then he went inside his own room and slammed the door. And Marie told Skyler, "Don't hold don't hold anything back against Junior because if you don't let him know and don't let her know, she cannot help her to get through this." But Skylar just kept silence and told Marie that I didn't ask for your help, so she didn't want to say anything between her and Walter. On the other hand, on the next day, Skylar went to the lawyer to talk about the divorce. She wanted to divorce Walter. She wanted to divorce Walter. The lawyer asked Skylar if she totally got the understanding of both their financial situation. And Skylar seems didn't know what to say. So the lawyer got that. She knew she got something inside her. And this lawyer told Skylar that uh, you can, she can talk everything to her because she got a lot of experiences before. And she told Skylar that you would be amazed that the other part of the couple, uh, I mean, how much money they hide from their other part. So you don't have to be uncomfortable to say anything. You just told me what happened and I would help you as much as I can. That's what the lawyer said. So after some discussion, Skylar went to the hotel to find Walt and they have some conversation. So Skylar take out the document and put them in front of on the desk. When Walter opened the document, he was so angry and shocked. He asked Skylar why she did this. And when he was, talking all these thing, when he was complaining about all these documents, Skylar she just threw out he just threw out a sentence. He just threw out a sentence. She said, "I know you're a drug dealer." And then Walter, he was totally clam up. He didn't know what to say. And then Skylar told Walter that, yeah, I thought back and I put all the things together. I put like Jesse Pinkman who saw Mariana to him. And I know normal people couldn't make that much money inside a short period of time. So I guessed that you were a drug dealer. And Walter, he finally owned up to it. He said, "Yes, I'm a producer of meth." And Skyler was totally, in the first place, she just guessed that Walter was a drug dealer, and she thought Walter was producing like cocaine, but she didn't know he was cooking meth because that's the highest level controlled substances. So she just can't believe that, and she was about to get out of the room. And she told Walter that I won't tell Hank and your daughter and son, but you better sign up the document and get away of our lives. That's what she said, and then she left. On the other hand, Jesse was in the rehab, and these members in the rehab they accompany with a instructor, and then they circle around a campfire to open it up to each one to talk about what they think. But Jesse never say something, so the instructor told Jesse, "It seems we never hear from you, so can you say anything, or you can question me? You can say that I'm not. You can say I'm full of shit. What I said is totally nonsense. You could say that. I'm okay with that." So Jesse told this instructor, okay, you talk a lot of self-improvement, self-acceptance. Did you ever hurt anyone? And this instructor, he just stared at Jesse for a moment. Then he said, I killed my daughter. And he told everyone on that place that he was a drug addict before. And that was his birthday. That day he killed his daughter, and he was out of booze, and he wanted to grab something to indulge himself. So he get on a car, and then he was about to drive out of his house. But his daughter was playing at the end of the driveway, at the entrance of the driveway. So that's what the accident happened. And then Jesse asked the instructor, uh, "How would you not? How would you not hate yourself?" And then the instructor told Jesse that he did hate himself for a long time, but finally he found that didn't help because if you want to truly improve and change yourself, you need to totally accept who you were. And that's the turning point for you to truly change yourself. And the next day, Walter got to the rehab to pick up Jesse. And he picked him up to the hotel and told Jesse that there was some friction in his marriage between Skyler. And Walter told Jesse that his money was His Saul was keeping his money for Jesse, and when he felt better, he will give them all back. And Jesse told Walter that he's already he's already felt uh he's already felt better, and he was done using drugs. And then Jesse asked Walter, did he care anything about the airplane crash? Because he knew that the accident uh, bring about by was bring about by Donald's mistakes. But Walter, he told Jesse that there's a lot of angle to these things. It's not just Donald's fault. But Jesse, she just looked at Walter and told him that you either face it or you run away. And then Walter asked Jesse, what did that happen? What did that mean? What did that mean? Jesse said he learned something from the rehab. The instructor taught him it's all about accept or not accept himself. And Jesse told Walter that he accepted himself and he was a bad guy. That's what he said at this at the end of this part. And then the next day, Walter got back to Polo's restaurant and he wanted to meet with Gus. So they have a conversation about Walter told Gus that he was there in person because he wanted to show his respect and admiration to Gus because he very appreciate the way he did business. But he wanted to be there and told Gus that he was done the business in person. He said that he got a lot of money, then he know how to spend. What he didn't have was his family. But Gus told Walter that he got an offer and job to him. He wanted to use $3 million to $3 million for 3 months of Walter's time. He made an offer to Walter. And this offer in the first place is kind of surprised and interested Walter in the first place. But Walter, after a few seconds consideration, he still refused and turned down the offer because what's the most important thing to him at the moment was his family. So even though that was a very high profit offer, Walter still turned it down. So Gus, he didn't say anything about his response, and he just stood up and shake hand with Walter, and then he left. And that's the end of this episode. Yes.